What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the ATL Sports HQ live show, the show for the fans, by the fans. This is episode number 33. We're going to try something new today. We decided to put our Twitter names underneath so you can reach us there. But let me introduce the crew. We got Bret in the middle there and Phil on the far right. We're kind of, like I said, still playing around with this new system, figuring things out. So you might see things a little bit differently as we continue to progress this podcast live show a little bit more each and every week. But it's always glad to have Bret joining us again. So welcome back, Bret. Follow the site at ATLSportsHQ.com and ATLSportsHQ on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And also the show can be found on all major podcast sites. We will be re-uploading these things, we promise. We had a little technical glitch, a.k.a. Derek didn't do it last week, so we'll get him back on it this week. And so you'll be able to find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and we'll make sure we get on him to get that up. If you're interested in writing for the site, we still actively recruit. We're always looking for someone, good, fresh, young talent. You can shoot over a message to Phil at _ATO Phil, or you can get a hold of me also at Bowling Bob. So let's go ahead and get things started. We're going to go with the Atlanta Hawks. We kind of got some late breaking news that we didn't want to talk about here to start off. Phil, go ahead and give us a rundown of what just happened.
Yeah, so Trae Young sprained his ankle here in the second quarter of the Hawks Heat game, and he will not return tonight. Of course, too early to speculate any further than that, but he will not return tonight. You know, with an ankle, unless it's like broken, which I don't think it is, the worst case scenario would be 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, it looked ugly. Well, when I saw the replay, I was like, "Oh, that's not good." You hope there's a lower ankle sprain. Them high ankle sprains are the one that keeps you out for longer, and they linger longer too.
Right. Also, we saw Bruno Fernando twist his ankle pretty good Saturday night, and he looked good last night. So
yeah, he's a freak of nature. He's the quickest sprained ankle comeback ever. So, but let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks. They're 2-1 to start the season with wins over Detroit, 117-100, and Orlando 103-99, and a tough loss last night to Philly, 105-103. And what was a fantastic game. Bret, what are your thoughts on the first 3 games of the season?
I mean, they're looking better than I think a bunch of us expected to start off with, because I know some of us are seeing us start the schedule like, how many, like 5-6 games of all these playoff teams we played to start off for the first couple of months. But they came out, even though Detroit wasn't fully healthy without Blake Griffin, but they still impressed on the road in that game. And then Orlando was a thriller. Trae Young was clutch down the stretch, and I know we're going to get to it later, but he's a big shot type of guy. And last night was just heartbreaking. Feel like we had the game almost won. We went up by Hunter hit that 3 about 5 minutes ago. Felt like the game was over, but again, of a young team, you're going to see some growing pains a little bit like that down the stretch of close games like that. But I mean, that's a top team in the East, a team that's been picked to win the East by a bunch of people this season. So even go toe to toe with them is a big sign for the future, and I guess for the present too.
Phil, what are your thoughts on the first 3 games?
Yeah, it's really been a breath of fresh air. I remember last night, first time in over 2 years where it felt like there was emotion in the game. Watching it just like on the edge of your seat, you're hoping every basket goes in and hoping every Philadelphia basket didn't go in. It was a really good feeling, and I'm glad Hawks basketball is back. Well, hopefully Trae Young isn't out too long so we don't lose too much of this momentum. But it feels good to be back, and the most impressive thing so far has been the improvement in defense. This team really, really struggled on the defensive end last year, and even in the preseason. The first few preseason games, I was like, maybe that 35 win prediction might be a little too high. Might even have to lower that a little bit, but they really looked good the first 3 games. Even tonight, before Trae Young went down, it was a back and forth game. The Heat are creating space now, as expected. The Hawks really don't even have a point guard on the roster now. We were already thin at the point. Evan Turner is out tonight as well. So you're looking at our G League guy. His name just escaped me. Or not G League guy. A guy we picked up from Minnesota, Tyrone Wallace. We picked him up the other day. He was waived by Minnesota. He's going to be playing some heavy minutes, and then you'll.
Yeah, they with Trey's injury definitely put the backlog on the point guard position, but they my thought was what impressed me the most yesterday was here we are in game 3 of the season, and you essentially had a playoff type atmosphere going on there in the fourth quarter. It was pretty impressive. At least for me, you got to the shot where you had a tip in go in there that tied the game, but the problem is that hold on a second here. We got to get Phil back in here. We lost connection. Let them check difficulties, Oh, hold on just one second. Let me get him in here again. But yeah, they but it felt like an atmosphere, but they just left too much time on the clock there at the end, to allow. I think it was they got fouled. The Embiid gets fouled, and that helped him get the win. But yeah, what's great is just again, it's something to be excited about again. That's even last year you knew you were going to have the growing pains of having such a young team, and we're going to have that again this year for sure. But it's just to me exciting. I mean, like Phil said, he said Atlanta Hawks basketball is back, and that's how I feel. It's just so quick and up tempo, the style of basketball that I like. As growing up as a Sonics fan, watching Sean Kemp and Gary Payton run up and down the floor together. This is the style of basketball I like. Run, gun. I'm still a little hesitant on Trey's choice of shooting sometimes, where he'll shoot at the logo man if he thinks that's if he thinks he can make it. And sometimes it's like, all right, buddy, come on now, But he kind of laid off that a little bit yesterday. So, but of course you would have the tech difficulties. Here we are in this new system, and you got to lose connection.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never had Wi-Fi problems here, and the game didn't even stop. I don't know what happened.
But yeah, no, I was just saying, that it felt like a playoff atmosphere in Game 3. How much
even Game 2. Saturday was amazing atmosphere there.
It was, and it's nice to see the fans really, really want really into the game and stuff. So. It's just been a lot of fun. But my second question was, what are some positives? I'll go to Phil on this. What are some positives, and what are some things you see needed to be worked on the first 3 games?
I'll start with the things that need to be worked on still. Just decision making down the stretch. You saw our youth last night. The DeAndre Hunter shot. There was a bad pass. Of course, the last possession, I know they trapped Trey, but it looked like there was a couple of opportunities still to force him the ball. If Trey, I'd take Trey at half court over, and no disrespect to the legend Vince, over a fadeaway Vince 3 in the corner. Yeah. I'll take a half quarter before that under a triple team. But the positives, like I spoke on before, the defense has been much improved. And you got to give a huge shout out to John Collins. Last year, you were talking about this big athletic freak, and he wasn't blocking shots. He wasn't getting steals. This year, he is all over the place defensively, getting all kinds of blocks. Even his offensive game looks more improved, even though his point totals haven't been there as of yet. But it's just been a joy to see the young guys, and I can't wait to see them gel and grow all season long.
Yeah, what do you think, Bret? What have been some positives and maybe some things you see needed to be worked on early on?
Yeah, I'll start with the natives too. I'll kind of just go with Phil took on the youth. You see again, like Cam Reddish is kind of forcing it a little bit too much. I think he's trying to he's not letting the game come to him. Like I remember, it was probably near the end of the game last week. He had a 2-on-2 fast break and he traveled. I mean, it was a iffy travel call, but again, I didn't see it full. Maybe he did take an extra step before the hop step, but he's just trying to force everything too much right now. So a couple shots tonight where he just trying to force it in there. He just needs to let it come to him a little bit. But like I said, but defense is a real positive right now. I mean, Hunter and Reddish as well. They're both doing a great job on defense. Like Phil said, John Collins is coming to his own on defense, and I figured the defense was going to be pretty bad again this year, even with the additions to Hunter and Reddish. But it's been really impressive, and John Collins has definitely stepped up his game a lot and becoming a rim protector that we've needed for a long time.
Yeah, for me, the one positive that other than what you guys have talked about, obviously, but the one positive for me has been Jabari Parker off the bench. I really, really like him. I really like the signing of him when he came here. So many people don't realize how young he is. I mean, 26 years old. He started off, so early on in the NBA. He's a vet, but I mean, he's still, just suffered from injuries, and so I think he's got a lot to prove, and I think that he's in the right area to prove because. Being the first off the bench like that. So, and he's just, he hasn't been a superstar by any means, but that's not why he's here. He's here to be that good complementary vet piece, and he seems to be able to run the floor with the guys and, of a good young team. So I really have been impressed with his play. It just seemed like he was such an under the radar pickup for us this year. So I really do like him. Some things I want to see worked on is I want to see someone be that step-up guy when Trey has to come off the court. I just don't think we got, we kind of lose a little bit of spark, and he can't be on the floor, every minute, obviously. So I'd really like.
They're gonna have to figure it out now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I think it's a different style of game when he's not in there. I think that's where we could possibly see John Collins excel. And there was times last year where I saw Trey not on the court where it seemed like John Collins was able to spread out a little bit more and seem to score inside quite a bit more. So, we're definitely going to have to see because I'm guaranteeing, I mean, Trey's really going to have to be a freak of nature, as bad as that looked, to be back, to me, like I said, pure speculation. I'm not a doctor by any means. I know that's shocking. But I'm not a doctor, so but hopefully it'll just be a short-term thing, and Doug said the same thing. He said offense is struggling with Trey. Well, offense is going to struggle without Trey. You got a guy off the floor now that's giving you 30, 35 plus points, for the first 3 games. So it's going to hurt. You're going to need a couple of guys to step up to get those point totals back. So. But hopefully it's just short term, because if it's a long term thing, there's going to be a lot of crying in Atlanta. So this is the only hope right now. So this and the United are all we got here. So, but Phil, after seeing this team, have we possibly underestimated them? I know you and I are 2 of the more vocal guys on, let's lessen our expectations of what you think they are. Has this changed anything for you?
Not yet. I said about 35 wins. I still think that's realistic. I've seen Hawks teams start 4-1 back in 2008, and eventually they did claw and make the playoffs. But I remember after that 4-1 start, they ended up 26-38 before rallying to make the 8 seed at 37-45. I think that's something we could see this year, but that is about the ceiling. That's with everything going right. Teams not adapting and adjusting to limit Trey, but it's possible, and we're headed in the right direction. But I do caution people not to get too high, because I'm sure you've seen some of the things I've seen. People are too high right now. You got to relax. You don't want to end up upsetting yourself. Just enjoy the ride and enjoy.
That's crap, Phil. They're on an 81-1 pace. That's crap.
I'm gonna say 80-2 because I can't see us second night back to back. down 10 at the half without Trey. I think it's going to be a rough third quarter.
It's okay. We'll take 80 and 2. Don't get me wrong. So, but Bret, you were kind of on the higher side with expectation. Is this going about what you expected, or is this solely riding on the Trey Young experience?
Oh, I mean, it's about I would say as I expected, probably a little bit more than I expected. But I knew we could compete with like the Detroit Pistons and the Magic. They were 7 and 8 seeds last year in the playoffs. I think that's what they were. But yeah, I knew we could compete with them this year because there's that top half in the East, and the rest of that is just a big jumbled mess of a bunch of mediocre teams this year. And I figured the Hawks could at least scrap and fight and get a few of those wins over that group of teams. And maybe I said, I think in my previous 37 wins, I think what I said, and I think that would be enough to get the 8 seed this year in the East because the East is just a big train wreck in the lower half of it. But yeah, I can't say I expected Trey to drop 40 both or 39 2 games in a row, but I can say that I was a little more excited than most about this season, saying we can do a little bit better, have expectations a little bit higher, which is why I get disappointed a lot, I guess, in my land. But yeah, it's been above my higher expectations, I could say, just off the season.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite of you. I always like to start my expectations low so that when I'm wrong, I'm excited. But I'm sticking with my 30 to 35 win. I know what they can be, and I hope that's what they can be, but they're so young. I mean, give them time to grow together. There's missing pieces, which we're going to talk about next, but it's just not all there yet. I mean, if we get the number 8 seed, I am going to go out and say we are 1 year ahead of expectations. I expect next year to be the year where I'm going to be disappointed if we don't lock down at least an 8, 7 seed, and I'll be a little disappointed in the offseason if we don't address some of the things that need to be addressed veteran-wise. But I thought for when their big veteran move was a Jabari Parker at 26 years old, and then bringing back Vince Carter, that tells you that, I mean, management doesn't expect them to be hardly anything more than an 8 seed. You're not putting money and resources to a team that's not ready to take that next step yet. But I mean, I'll ride the excitement if we make the playoffs, of course. I mean, that would be fantastic. I see better teams than them out there right now. What I want to see is Lloyd Pierce getting the most out of Cam Reddish, Bruno, and DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter has been better than advertised for me. I mean, I know it's hard to say that a number 4 pick could be better than advertised, but I mean, I thought him at 4 may have been a little bit of a reach. I kind of wanted Cam Reddish at the number 4 spot, to be honest with you. So, but he's proven to be everything. And the thing about it is, I think to me is his defense has definitely surprised me. I didn't realize that he was such a workhorse on defense. And that's something that was hugely needed on this team. So, I agree with you too, where you say, defense has definitely been a big plus. Because he's been leading that charge, and then John Collins blocking the way he has been. So again, they're just not there yet. But that leads me into the next question, though. Bret, what are the team's biggest needs to make that next step?
I think another guy that's a threat from the more to perimeter, because you see Trey getting doubled so much. You need that guy to kind of just take the pressure off him sometimes. And I think Hunter and Reddish could develop in those guys, but they're just too young right now. I think to trust them with the ball in their hands right there, just too raw on that end of the floor. But I think when they need a secondary ball handler, I might say we need like a James Harden or Russell Westbrook or something like that. We just need a guy that can just be a threat. I might say it's not far-fetched, but a guy like Tyler Hero would be, I think, a perfect guy. But I know he's going off on the Hawks right now. He's a perfect fit where he's at in Miami. But I like Herter when he gets healthy. I think that could be a big boost for the Hawks. Being that guy, because he's showing that he can get to the rim and when that 3-point shot starts falling again for him, he's going to be exactly what the Hawks need. But and I think maybe not maybe definitely another starting center. I think starting caliber center. Alex Lynn, I mean, he's seeing some flashes from him. He's catching the ball a lot better this year, and he's finishing a whole lot better. But these 3-pointers have been. I think he's like 50% on just hitting the rim so far this year. It's been atrocious. But that's all I got. Is a starting caliber center. That's another guy to take the pressure off Trae Young for right now.
Yeah, I agree with you where you said, Kevin Huerter. The thing is, we have yet to see Kevin Huerter play through the preseason to get his shot right to where it comes to opening day. He's there. He's chasing his shot through the regular season. I mean, it wasn't until, what would you say, Phil, like game 25, 26, where he started really getting his feet set and making those shots last year. I mean, game 30, 35. It was pretty late in the season when.
That's what people have to remember about Cam, and also it's not like he's just out there looking lost. Everything else about his game is looking really good so far. It's just the shot's not falling. I'm not worried.
What do you think their biggest needs are to take that next step, Phil?
A center, a backup point guard, and just a second. Who's going to be that second star, like on the wing? Like star, give us that actual star power who can also take a last-second shot, who can get their own shot, who can take pressure off. We shouldn't see Trae being doubled and trapped 90 feet from the hoop.
I mentioned the same thing yesterday. I was like, "What? Enjoy it now, because eventually teams are going to pick up on that. We don't have a second option right now. So as soon as they start double teaming Trae and he's not, able to create his own shot, those 39, 35 point totals are gonna go lower. And he's going to miss more shots. He's been really, creating his own stats so far this year just by, moving the ball so well. But I'm all in agreement with you too. Got to have a starting center. I mean, got to have a starting center. If you're going to be elite in this league, you got to have a big man, and we just don't have that whatsoever. We don't have, that toughness down low. I mean, Alex Lynn. He is what he is. I mean, he's a guy filling a roster spot for us right now because there ain't nobody out there yet that's worth us throwing the money at this early on in the rebuild. We'll find somebody. I mean, Doug misses Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, everybody would like to have Karl Anthony Towns. I mean,
that would probably take John Collins, Kevin Huerter first.
You can't set the team back to move the team forward. It doesn't make any sense. You're looking. I mean, a name that was mentioned, even though he just signed, was Domantas Sabonis. That's exactly the guy that I the type of style of guy that I want. That can still run the floor with the young kids. But it is such a workhorse down low. But still has a really a decent perimeter shot too. Domantas is a good shooter too. So and plus I'm biased because I'm familiar with him at Gonzaga. So I really like him. And a lot of people are like, well, he just re-signed. Well, that doesn't mean anything. I've heard rumors that's strictly for Indiana to get maximum value for him if they do decide to trade him. So I still think that deal would also cost us John Collins. So. That's things you have to look for. It's easy to bring a piece in here, but there aren't many free agent centers, and it's so you're gonna have to trade for one if that's the deal you want to make. But what is it going to cost you? So, but definitely need a center. If we're going to progress, you got to have it. So, something that Derek brought up that I did want to talk about. Should other people than Trae be looking to take the game winners? I'll throw that to you, Phil.
Not right now. I mean, unless Trae is like quadruple. Maybe Kevin. But what we saw last night should not happen.
Yeah, definitely.
DeAndre Hunter shot on the second to last possession should not happen. It was early, and obviously it was a bad shot because it was easily deflected by the defender.
Mhm.
But with the universe that Trey is on right now, or was on, nobody else should have even touched the ball on that last possession.
Yeah, Bret, what are your thoughts on that?
I think Trey Young should be the guy taking the last shot, no matter what. I mean, yeah, like last night we saw whatever that horrible last minute was for offensively for us, but Trey's. I mean, he's got. It seems like he's got that. He's got that it factor in the late situations in games, and um, I mean, you can have. You're always going to have like when we eventually get that second go-to guy, when we develop it with Rash or Hunter or whoever else, or go get one in a free agency or trade market whenever that time comes. I, I mean, it's going to be hard to take that away from Trey because he's proven that he's got those ice in his veins. He's proven that he lives up in those big moments, and we saw it in I don't know what I think it was the first home game last year against Dallas. He had a awful first 3 quarters, and fourth quarter comes around, he's the best player on the floor, and brought us back down by what we were down by like 22 in that game, and
Yeah, 26.
like
It was
26, whatever. Yeah, whatever it was, he brought us back from a lot, and he's got that it factor, and he's. I mean, sure that shot against Orlando might have had a little bit of luck involved, just throwing it up and banking it in, but all that matters is it went in. So that's all. He's got the it factor.
Yeah, who else do you want the ball in the hands other than your superstar? That's how it's working in the NBA. Do you think anybody sat around in one of these podcasts back in the day and said, "Hey man, should someone other than Michael Jordan be shooting the game winner for the Chicago Bulls? Why doesn't Pippen get a shot, man?"
Some breaking news from Woj. X-rays were negative, and there's optimism that it isn't a serious injury. He will undergo an MRI soon.
Thank you, Sports Jesus of Atlanta Sports.
Finally.
Speaking of the Sports Jesus of Atlanta Sports, let's go to the opposite spectrum here and talk about the Atlanta Falcons. An unfortunate loss to the greatest team in the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks, 27-20. I was live in attendance for what was a first half demolishing, and then the Seahawks went into the worst prevent defense second half ever and tried to give the game back, but the Falcons couldn't even take a game that the Seahawks were trying to give them in the second half. I'm going to start this one off with you, Phil. Down 24-0 at the half. Why is it that they can go downfield at ease in the second half, but it can't accomplish anything in the first?
Well, you said that prevent defense. I don't understand why teams still do that. Just play like you've been playing. Because I remember the Falcons used to always get up big in the first half and then go to that loose defense, 8 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Oh, whoa. How do we have a game again? I don't understand that. But the Falcons are like, they don't wake up till it's like, oh, shoot, we got to wake up. And unfortunately, as we've seen this year, that is often when it is too late.
Bret, what are your thoughts on that? But what's going on in the first half that happens the second half?
I'll tell you, the first half, Cutter, he's been trying to preach this 50-50 run-pass split when we get an offensive line that can't block anything, and our best players are outside perimeter guys, and I guess now Ridley and Julio and Hooper. And I don't understand that Freeman's averaging he's like 3.4 yards a carry or something like that. I mean, we can't move the ball. We're trying to do this run on first, pass on second, or run pass or something. It's just not working. And I know the game's a little bit scripted differently with Shaw behind there, but still, he still threw 50-something passes because we thrown probably at least 30 in the second half. But I mean, when your best playmaker and you realize in the second half when they're down, you have to throw the football. I know the prevent defense plays a role in it, but there's never going to be a game when the Falcons wide receivers are going to be inferior to the defensive backs of other team because no one's stopping Julio Jones. Hooper's a top 3-4 tight end in the league right now, and Ridley, we had some new. He was a really good slot guy, and Ridley's now sliding in that role, and he's starting to come into his own a little bit. He had a better game last week, and he's starting to finally hang on to the football for once. And so, I mean, well, you guys said when you have one of the probably you have the best receiver on the planet, but between him and DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones is. I mean, you gotta find ways to give him the ball. You can't do that when you're running straight into a brick wall of Freeman. So and
he was at almost 160. Was he at 160 plus or Sunday? I got it. I know every time I turned around, he was catching the ball. I didn't see the final stats, but I know it was at least 150. So
he was all over the place, and I gotta say, like, we don't since Coleman's gone, we don't have that outside threat. Who was it? That Brian Hill, the running back. We finally went outside. He 25-yard touchdown run. I mean, Freeman's just not built for that. I've been preaching to get rid of Freeman for 2 years, but like I said, I'm not saying he's the reason. There's a lot more reasons why we're 1-7. There's a lot more reasons why we can't start fast. It goes from the defense being they're lost, the offensive line not being able to block. The defensive line is an absolute joke besides Grady Jarrett, and it's just, I mean, the linebackers are just, even Deion Jones is kind of not playing it up to his part a little bit, and I've had it, but this is the worst.
You can't rant any more worse than I did last week on this thing. But trust me, I'm going to flip your words around though. I am going to blame Devonta Freeman for the offense. I mean, here's what I saw in the first half. Devonta Freeman run up the middle 3 yards. Devonta Freeman run up the middle 2 yards. Devonta Freeman loss of 1. Devonta Freeman loss of 2. Devonta Freeman run up the middle. Brian Hill outside run 7-yard run. Brian Hill runs outside, got 4 or 5. This is all on first down. So you immediately start 2nd and 5, and they were able to get first downs at ease because Gage Jr. played very, very well in that role, the slot receiver role, which I think is the easiest to replace. That's why I knew the Sanu train wouldn't affect us, because Matt Ryan could use anybody in the slot role. I mean, and you look at the Patriots, they've made a killing out of slot receivers. You just build the next one in. I mean, it's the easiest to replace. But Russell Gage was able to get those 5-10 yards. Hooper too, and then it left Julio open for the bigger gains, and then Calvin Ridley as well. Calvin Ridley has got to stop the bad drops. There was two or three where he had maybe easy touchdowns, but easy big yardage gains where he dropped it. There was a big one in the first quarter that would have kind of turned the tide a little bit. But for me, the key for losing this game was the first missed field goal by Matt Bryant. That ended up being a 10-point swing. They don't get the 3-0 lead. You don't get the field goal. The Seahawks run right down and score a touchdown on a miscommunication play to DK Metcalf, where he was literally had about 10 years all alone in the end zone, which was funny enough. But then it happened. The exact same play happened again 2 quarters later, where he's sitting in the end zone and nobody's guarding him whatsoever. So it's just unreal. I mean, unreal that Dan Quinn still has a job. Unreal that Dimitrov still has a job. But hey, Matt Bryant released today. What's his name, Phil? You told me and I forgot.
Younghoe Koo.
Younghoe Koo, that's it. I just looked too and I forgot already. So Younghoe Koo brought in. Bret, do you think that they're using Matt Bryant as the scapegoat here?
No, he just performed. I mean, I hate to say it, but he's not performed as well as we would hope so this year. But I hate to say he's going to be retired. His numbers going to whatever Ring of Honor. He's going to be in all that. But I'm not going to say he's a scapegoat. He's just one of the many. He was just one of the many problems that we could fix, like or try to fix immediately. Because, like I said, he can. There's a bunch of issues, but he was just one that was just you can cut him and just bring somebody else in and try him on out. And but I'll go back to Dan Quinn just for a second. I'll tell you the reason why he has a job right now, I think, is because of that Julio Jones speech, whatever that was, saying this guy's done it all for us, and I was on us. I was thinking that, well, honestly, I was like, well, there's Dan Quinn's job for the rest of the year right there, at least, because I mean, it's clear that he hasn't lost the locker room, I feel like, because the guys are still, like you said, they're coming back in the second half, they're fighting. But before going around, I was going to say it's the miscommunication on defense and his penalties, poor coaching. But the scapegoat, I don't think it was Matt Bryant. It's just one of those easy a fix they can try to make immediately.
I'll tell you what the Falcons' problem is. It's Matt Ryan. They just need to cut him.
Oh, my God.
Hey, man.
I thought I was reading.
You aren't even the franchise leader in passing yards in a game anymore. You're useless. I mean, the thing was though is it's kind of embarrassing that a guy like Matt Schaub can throw for 450 yards. It tells you. I've been preaching this the whole year of everybody saying, man, Matt Ryan, he's second in receptions. And I'm like, yeah, Matt Ryan's killing it in garbage time. Well, guess what? Matt Schaub gets garbage time the second half, throws for 450 yards, breaks the franchise record for most yards passed, gets to 25,000 in his career, and then becomes the oldest person to ever get his 1,000th reception. So he just had a heck of a record-breaking day. But yeah, that to me, for Matt Bryant, I say he is a scapegoat. I mean, it's funny that you didn't see Vic Beasley gone today, or in his $14.7 million. That would have sent, to me, that sends a message. Man, this guy, we paid him too much money. Let him walk. Let him go find someone else, somewhere else to play on that $13 million or $14 million that we gave him. So, I just kind of think that they, because my thing is he hasn't been that great. He did miss that extra point to lose the game, and then he missed the field goals. But that's the easiest thing to replace is the kicker. Let's start showing let's start showing some responsibility onto who's really to blame for this disaster. So
where do the Falcons go from here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you rebuild fast enough to even make something out of the end of Julio Jones and Matt Ryan's prime?
Yeah, I mean, so what, 9-7, which still isn't going to get you there in the NFC this year. I mean, if you run the table. You're telling me that you're going to beat the Saints twice. Not happening. So, and I think do they have San Fran? I think they have San Fran too. So, I can't remember what the schedule is. I looked earlier, but yeah, it's not
2-3 years. Can this be rebuilt enough to even make use of Ryan?
You're so handcuffed in salary. You're gonna have. I mean, one thing about it, Vic Beasley is off the books, so you have $13.8 million. But they're so handcuffed in salary that $13.8 million is just going to be able to get you one player. So you're still stuck with no depth. There's so much work that needs to be done. But the problem is I don't think that they need a rebuild. They need a guy that can get the most out of what's on the field. There's talent on the field. Clearly we see it. The offensive line problems are, to me, is youth. Just like we talked about the Hawks and youth and them having issues. That every year that Lidstrom and what's his face, they that they play together, they're gaining more experience. They're going to be good linemen. They were good linemen in college. I mean, that or McGarity, that's what I'm thinking of. But they're going to get better. But this isn't this is their first year. There aren't many superstar first year offensive linemen. It just doesn't happen. So, you got to find the right guy to lead what talent you have, and Dan Quinn clearly isn't that guy. I tried saying that last year. Everybody gave me the injury excuse. What's the excuse this time? I mean, there isn't any. I mean, again, like I said last week, you took responsibility for the defense. You took responsibility for Vic Beasley. And those two things are the worst performing things of the entire football season. So what's the answer here? And then Thomas Dimitrov has drafted us into the problems that we're having. He made the decision to get rid of Tevin Coleman and choose to to pay Devonta Freeman. Bad choice there. He hasn't made the best free agent decision. You know, I don't know. The two of them got to go. We got to start over fresh. What was a telling thing though was when Arthur Blank was in his press conference on Sunday, he mentioned all these great GMs and stuff that are there beside him. He didn't say Thomas Dimitroff, but I thought was kind of funny. So to me, I'd be worried if I was Thomas Dimitroff. So you know, today was the trade deadline. Falcons didn't make any moves, of course. I was kind of hoping that they would trade Vic Beasley, but I mean, what are you realistically going to get for a guy that's shown absolutely nothing and is making $13.8 million or 14.8? But Bret, are you surprised that Vic Beasley is still on this team?
Nah.
I'm not surprised because, like I said, you're not going to, or like you say, nobody wants him. I mean, who wants a guy that's going to take up 13 something million in the cap space and not produce for that plate or that salary? So I'm not surprised. I saw rumblings of Jake Matthews, but he's the same boat. I mean, he's more productive than Vic Beasley on offensive line, but he's not worth his salary. He didn't play up to his salary. At least this year he has. He has in the past, but this year he has not played up to what his salary is. But like I said, I'm glad they kept Hooper because I think he's a big bright spot for the team, at least going forward. But
yeah, I thought he would have been the most likely traded today. Would have been him. He, you know, young enough, and it isn't one of the untouchables. You know, not a Julio. You know, but I'm glad they held on to it too. They got to have him. He's such a big piece of their offense. So I mean, that to me shows that they're not giving up on future years. So I thought that was a good move too. But Phil, you surprised Vic Beasley's still there?
Nah, and apparently there was a report that they had some offers on him today. They must have been some terrible offers, maybe taking back salary. I'm not sure of the how strict the NFL trade rules are like NBA as far as matching, but there must have been some terrible offers to not go ahead and pull the trigger. But at this point, you know, it's halfway through the season. You know, I hope they know they're not going to bring him back. So you might as well just let him play out the season. You aren't going to get anything good back. So hey, just roll with it. This season is lost. Evaluate talent. You know, if I'm the staff, I'm telling Matt Ryan, yo, take your time. If you're not 100%, don't risk it. Don't force it. Don't rush it. The season is lost.
That's just not Matt Ryan, though. Matt Ryan, you should have seen him. You should have seen him pacing at that game. You could just tell. I mean, could you imagine 10 years you've been in the league, you've never had to miss a game, and then you got to watch one on the sideline, and your team's down 24-0 at the half. The fans are booing. It's essentially a Seahawks home game. I mean, I just when I tell you that there was literally about 6,000 to 8,000 Seahawk fans there. It was crazy. So always one of my favorite games to go to because for some reason Georgia just seems to be a hub for Seahawks fans. I have no clue why. So, but they definitely travel well to watch them. But yeah, I'm not surprised that were no moves made. Like I said, if anybody would have been gone, it would have been Hooper. Maybe center, but again, that would have been that just a shot there. But realistically, in the NFL, there really wasn't any move. There was a lot of talk, especially going into the end of this thing. There was talk about what's his face from the Jets, Le'Veon Bell possibly. Le'Veon Bell possibly being moved. And that one wouldn't surprise me because I know that he wasn't Adam Gase's pick to come in as the running back. So I'm a little surprised he wasn't moved. I heard some rumblings about Mariota going to the Bears. That never happened. And so really there was a one cornerback move. I think that was just a salary dump. So really no big moves made. Kenyon Drake was probably the biggest trade. Kenyon Drake to the Cardinals. That's good for my fantasy on Thursday because I know he's going to be getting a ton of touches. So, what's that?
On too.
Yeah. Yeah. Now he goes from underused to being the main guy for the Cardinals. So, we'll have to see how that goes. But Phil, I'm going to throw it to you here. It's time to talk about that United tomorrow night versus Toronto FC. Why don't you break down that matchup?
All right, so Atlanta United facing the surprising Toronto FC. They come in as the 4 seed. They knocked off the top seed New York City, DC United in their first matchup. It's a lot tougher than people are anticipating. They think we're just going to walk in there and steamroll them. Toronto is a team that historically has given us fits since our inception, really. But there's a lot on the line. Of course, a trip to MLS Cup. Unfortunately, no Miles Robinson still. Parkhurst has been training. I don't think we'll see him. I hope to see a similar lineup that we saw last week against Philadelphia. I really want to see Pity, Barco, and Joseph out front. I really think that worked best. And Toronto, it looks like they're going to be missing their striker, Josie Altidore. He did not travel to Atlanta with the team yesterday. Obviously, he still could travel, but it's not looking likely that we'll see him. So that is a major, major break. He's Toronto's, top scorer. He's their striker. But these teams match up very well. Obviously, Atlanta will be favored at home. We don't lose at home barely ever. So there's just a lot on the line. Another trophy, of course. It's not a major trophy. It's just the Eastern Conference trophy. But we're looking at getting to our second MLS Cup in a row, which for a team that's been in existence for 3 years, for a team that struggled so much early on, had so much drama, no off season, so many extra games, changing tactics, missing Miguel Almiron, integrating new pieces, tons of injuries. To be where we're at, no matter what happens tomorrow, this season is a huge success.
One thing I was really, really excited about was hearing Frank DeBoer say that him and his staff may have tried to push their system onto these guys, which I've said from the beginning. I mean, it was okay to make them a defensive-minded team, but you can't scratch them from being an offensively dominated team. You could have encouraged them to play more defense, but he literally, just strangled the offense. I mean, it was I call him Frank DeBoring the entire year because it just wasn't fun to watch at United until 2/3 of the way through the season. Now all of a sudden they look like the United of old with that added defensive prowess, to where they could win a game 5-0 just as easily as they can win a game 1-0, it seems. But there's an interesting caveat going on at about 10:18 p.m. tonight.
Hopefully.
You guys are jumping on my bandwagon for once. Explain to me, Phil, why is everybody in Atlanta rooting for the Seattle Sounders tonight?
Yeah, so of course with LAFC having the best record ever, they are slated to host MLS Cup should they make it. With Atlanta being the number 2 seed in the East, of course they're the highest remaining seed with New York City out. So if LAFC is to lose and we win, that means we host MLS Cup again. I'm sure MLS has to be licking their chops. They want 70,000. They don't want 50,000. Yeah, they want 70,000. So as for exciting as LAFC is tonight, I'd be watching the ref a little closely in that Seattle LA game to see if they're trying to push for Seattle a little bit.
Seattle has played LAFC very, very well this year. So, it's a good matchup. I would rather see LAFC than see the Galaxy, who seem to kick us out of the playoffs all the time. So,
and also, Seattle been there, done that. Same with Toronto, which also scares me a little bit about Toronto. They've been there, done that. They won MLS Cup in 2017. We're in MLS Cup 2016. That's when Portland won, or is that the year Seattle won? Seattle won 15 or something.
Yeah. But yeah, for me and then this group, boy, we would love to see this Seattle Atlanta U matchup. I mean, it's something that we had a chance at last year, didn't come to fruition, and this is as close as it gets to having a big time matchup. To me, this is like a Super Bowl type possibility here. So to have, and again, the Seattle, I picked them to get to the MLS Cup finals this year. I knew they were much improved. Their injuries, a lot of guys were coming back from injury, so I knew that was going to help. But as much as I want to see Atlanta win, as much as I want to see Seattle win, man, I really don't want to come to Atlanta. I mean, that's just like you said, it's one of the toughest places to win an MLS matchup. So and Atlanta is a team that we played okay against, but it's a struggle. I mean, I'd much rather have the home field.
Right. So looking at the Seattle-Atlanta matchup, Seattle dominated us in July. After that match was when Frank DeBoer pretty much threw in the towel and made that tactical change to the 3-5-2, which we've had to abandon in the playoffs because of Miles and Parkhurst being out. But that was really the match that broke the back of how Frank DeBoer wanted things done. And then looking back last year, Seattle just came in here, parked the bus, got a lucky goal off a penalty, handball in the box, in a 1-1 draw in what was a game that made me want to rip my head off.
Yeah, again, obviously who I'm rooting for tonight. So, and like I said, it's nice for a change to have you guys rooting with me for once. So, for different reasons, but still, hey, if we all root together, maybe we can get them here and have that matchup. But again, it's one thing to have Seattle win. It's another thing, Atlanta's still got to get the job done. It's not like you guys are waiting on us to win to get home. You still got to do the job, and Toronto's no slouch. So we'll start with the Seattle win tonight, and then we'll root for Atlanta tomorrow. So let's move on to the Atlanta Braves. Bret, we'll get you back in on the conversation here. Interest has been shown by AA in the most non-shocking news of them all. Interest in a Josh Donaldson reunion. What's your price you offer for Josh Donaldson?
I go no more than probably like 3 years, 80-something million, or about 3 years, 80 million. I thought the most I would go, but he brought a lot to the team last year, and you don't get more than that 23 million that he got for his 1 year deal to sign. But like I said, he brought a lot. He was what we needed in the middle of the order. His glove was he saved a bunch of runs with his glove last year too, and I know he probably didn't play as well as he wanted in the playoffs last year, but again, we're not even in that game 5. It wasn't for him because he had that clutch hit to start off game. Well, guess what was it? Game 3, I think is what it was. The shot in the left field. He showed good hits, but that one hit kept our season alive for the time being. But we need to re-sign him because Riley's shown that he may not be quite ready yet. I don't think he is ready yet. Those strikeout numbers are just strike out 45% of the time and be successful in this league right now. But his skill, he needs more time to work on the swing. I know Chipper Jones is always floating around spring training, so I'm sure he'll get some work in with him. But again, at the same time, we don't want to move Riley to the outfield because it seems like Pache and Waters are both knocking on the door. I'm assuming they're both going to get spring training invites. I'm assuming if they impress, we might see them up in the big leagues like a month to the season. Once they get the extra year of eligibility or arbitration going, they'll be up in the bigs. But like I said, Donaldson needs to be here. He's great in the locker room for what I've read. He seems like he fits in perfectly with that video of him and Eric Young Sr. dancing in the dugout. I still see that all the time on a lot. He just gelled perfectly, and the fans loved him. The home run Bringer of Rain celebration. I mean, you see him like he's a perfect fit for it. So, but yeah, I wouldn't break the bank. Like I wouldn't do some insane contract for him. But 3 years, $80 million seems to be pretty fair, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier in our chat, I said 3 years, $75 million. That's max. yeah, that's a raise off the 23 million. You're definitely going to reward him for the season that he had. So 25 million a year, no more than 3. I think he's 32 years old. That puts him into his 35-year season. But you mentioned about Austin Riley. I think that if you're not going to give him the third base job, you're going to have to move him. But I think that move is going to be for Mookie Betts. I think there's a mutual. I think kind of respect from Mookie Betts and the Braves. I've heard that he definitely wouldn't mind coming to this group. Hard to get rid of so many guys without a guarantee of him re-signing here and what it would take. We know 7 years, $200 million is a no because that's what he told the Red Sox. But maybe that's because he didn't want to play for the Red Sox. But you don't realize with what money that Ozzie and Acuna took, you free up so much space to go get a guy like that. And but my thing is, if you choose to go get Mookie Betts, you're relying on the young pitching again. You can't go get that veteran guy. And anybody that keeps throwing out Cole's name, it ain't gonna happen. The Braves are not going to give a pitcher $200 million. I'm telling you right now, and he's easily a $200 million person. He's going to sit. He's going to sit in through the spring, just like all the other big money pitchers have. But he's going to get it from someone. The Dodgers, Angels, Cubs, a team like that. But yeah. So again, if you choose to upgrade your offense, it's going to come at the price of not having a closer. But I think we have Shane Green and Melanson both back next year, so we won't start with a closer problem. But Phil, I'll ask you this question: Ron Washington didn't get that Padres job. Kind of glad he didn't.
Good, because he's the best coach on the Braves staff right now. I really thought he would have got a job this season. There's no more jobs out there this year.
None that he's been attached to. I mean, there are other jobs. The Royals job is still open, but they seem to have their guys that they've already brought in to interview and who they're looking for. They're not looking for the old school manager.
Because if the Braves underachieve next year, you know what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I do. I think him or Eric Young either one of those two could step in and manage the Braves. But the thing that I liked was that he was offered the bench coach job, which still would have been an upgrade for what he has here, and he chose not even to take the bench coach job with San Diego to stay in Atlanta. So shout out to Ron Washington. We definitely love him. He's been such a good person, role model for Acuna and Albies. They both love him. If you've ever seen him, on the field doing drills and stuff, it's like a father-son type relationship.
You need connection.
What's that?
You need that kind of connection just with all the different multicultural players. You need some of that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get into a little college football. I meant to put this in. Bret reminded me that I didn't. So, and we didn't talk about this last week. So we definitely need to get this in. Let's start with what we always start with Georgia. Let's start with Georgia Tech, Bret. We'll go to you here. What are your thoughts on the season so far for Georgia Tech? Are you seeing the improvements you were hoping to see?
I mean, after the Citadel game, it was hard not to see improvements from week to week after that. But you're definitely seeing some improvements. You're seeing the super young. We have 8 healthy seniors that are on the roster right now. So this team's extremely young. It's the youngest in America. We do factor in injuries to the upperclassmen. Another one might have just gone down today, but we're not sure on Bruce Jordan Spiller. We're not sure on him yet. But like I said, the improvements on the defense side of the ball is so awesome to finally see some pressure on third downs and different exotic blitzes. After watching Tech and even the Falcons for just the last 5-6 years, it's just gets old seeing rushing 3 on third down and seeing 15-yard easy dump ball or 15-yard easy passes on third and longs and stuff like that. And just a breath of fresh air. And offensively, you're starting to see some strides from the young freshman James Graham. And We even saw some old flex bone last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, against Miami. I mean, line up in that. The guys know how to run that. Obviously, ran it for 11 or 10, 11 years, whatever it was, and you're seeing the offensive line that's starting to pick back up a little bit. The pass blocking's better. You're seeing. I mean, it's probably the most excitement I've seen from like just the players themselves and enthusiasm playing on the field since probably even probably 2014 when they went to the AC Championship game. It's probably the most excitement since then. Even though look at the record, we're 2-5. I mean, it's nothing to brag about, but um, we just watched the games from week to week and watched that Miami game. We saw how they celebrated after that game. That was a big deal because they were like 20-point underdogs in that game. Everybody was just writing them off. But this team has talent. Paul Johnson didn't leave this team just full of no talent, even though you can look at the recruiting record and say what you want. This team has talent, young talent as well. And that's what played a factor in playing. The team is gelling a little bit better. The freshmen get more experience. The guys who, as even the sophomores who haven't played a lot, getting more experience. So it's finally fun to watch. Another tough test against Pitt this weekend, but I mean, just the recruiting is also a big plus right now. We're number 25 class in America right now. We've got to commit for another 4-star receiver. I mean, it's just like I said, the record's 2-5, but you look at the season. Of course, obviously should have beat the Citadel. But other than that, the Temple game was just a funky game. 3 turnovers in the red zone, or actually in the goal, in the 3 turnovers in the end zone. And but like I said, it's a young team. They're progressing week to week, and it's fun to watch and seeing their excitement even on social media. Coach Collins loves his job. He loves where he's at, and he loves his city as well. He saw him repping Atlanta United today in his press conference. So he loves being here, and it shows that on and off the field with the players.
The thing I love the most about the Miami game was it gives those young guys the experience of getting to feel what a big win is like. When you're struggling, especially with a new head coach, new system, new everything like that, you start to just think, "Oh man, we're still a bad team? We're still a bad team." And you get those thoughts in your head, whether or not Coach Collins does, instills that, in them. But for them to get to feel a big win, yeah, that's different. When you get to celebrate and stuff like that, it puts confidence in you. That was easily, to me, the best game they played the entire year. There was a good mixture of still having to use what you were given with the triple option. I mean, it's still there. I hate the triple option, that. So. But it's trying to convince myself that that it's because he doesn't have anybody in there yet that's comfortable with the pro style shotgun offense. That'll get there. But the fact that again that he's they need a big win like that to get him confidence will only help them going further. Again, tough matchup this week against Pitt. So, but hey, you never know. I mean, it was a tough matchup against Miami, and they pulled it out. So, but that's what you want to see. You only have one win, and then you pull off this second win, and that's what you want to see with a struggling team. You want to see them improve week to week to week to week. You know that they're not going to win their division. They're not. To me, I don't know about you, but I knew they weren't going to win their division this year. It's still Paul Johnson's, recruiting class and stuff like that. So, but I wanted to see them improve in the offense, and clearly, and defensively too. No, not just offense, but they definitely improved defensively. I mean, that's to me, it's like I applaud that because they were terrible defensively last year. I mean, so just massive improvement there. That's a heck of a start. So. It's good to get a coach in there with fresh mindset. I think PJ just got just a little tired. I mean, you could tell last year, especially, it wore on him. That he knew the triple option wasn't working. I mean, it just wasn't. It's to me, it's an antiquated offense. Not too many people are using it anymore. It's becoming easier to game plan for when you know that that's all they got. So I'm excited to see other different things. I haven't caught a lot of Georgia Tech games this year, but the ones I have, So again, I'm seeing improvement. That's all you can ask for with Georgia Tech. But Phil, let's move on to Georgia real quick. Rough loss against South Carolina. We didn't cover that last week, but that was quite unexpected. What do you think about Georgia this year?
Yeah, Georgia always seems to have that one game where they just whoops and just drop it. They got a big one coming up with Florida, obviously. Both teams, if they don't win, that's pretty much it. Well, not pretty much. If they don't win, that's it. So it's they really got to bring it. And for all the talk about how much different Kirby has been, to go out there and show that against South Carolina is just not a good look. We're on year 3 now, and you got to get it done. You always talk about how good the recruiting classes are, but you got to get it done. And eventually, I think they're gonna look back and regret letting go of my boy Justin Fields.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to say. How embarrassing it is to see Justin Fields, heading toward the Heisman at this point. I mean, I thought it was a race between him and Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts exited that race last week. So I think it's Justin Fields to win. I mean, he's been as advertised, and as soon as they chose Jake Fromm over him, I was the first to say, big mistake, big mistake.
Like, did they learn their lesson with Deshaun Watson?
My thing is what I'll never understand though is what did they see from Jake Fromm in the 2 years? I understand that they thought Jake Fromm was better than Jake Eason. Same style quarterback, so that's really a toss-up. But Justin Fields is a generational college player. I don't know how that projects to the pro game, but he is a generational college player. And when you let guys like that go, and you make the choice to go Jake Fromm, and you could start to see last year they didn't know how to use Justin Fields. He would never have known.
They've never had that style of quarterback.
Justin Fields honestly would have been better at Georgia Tech than he would have been in Georgia. That's the honest truth. I mean, they would have known how to use him better than Georgia ever did. But Georgia has no slouch of a schedule left. They got Florida, Missouri, Auburn, Texas A&M, and then Tech, who's coming for blood. I mean, if they overlook Georgia Tech's gonna roll them, especially when it's a Georgia Tech home game this year. So, that's one thing they can't do is forget that Georgia Tech's there waiting to make a statement game, and what a statement game that would be for Coach Collins to take out Georgia. So, it don't get any easier for them. I definitely did not expect a South Carolina slip up. I thought the slip up game for them this year would be Auburn, but hey, now I still think
a slip up.
Yeah, I think it's a slip up game too. But a lot of people slept on Texas A&M, because they had a few dumb losses as well. But they're the slouch team. I mean, so it's going to be an interesting time in Georgia football, but. To me, again, it started with a mistake when you let Justin Fields go, and you've seen just what he's brought to Ohio State football. Again, they're one of the teams to beat. I mean, I think that Ohio State and LSU is looking like a pretty good championship game. So. But so we'll keep an eye on that. Again, good to see Georgia Tech improving and showing what they can do. Disappointing that we're still seeing the same Georgia football letdown every year. So let's stick with the NCAA because there was some big news today. NCAA will now allow players to make money off their likeness. I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement, but let's throw it out. Phil, do you agree or disagree with this decision?
Yeah, it's about these schools billions of dollars, and you're going to tell them that they can't even sign autograph for a couple of dollars or or make money off the sale of their jersey or appear in video games and get compensated for that, or do public appearance and make money, or even like I'm 90% sure they can't even like Uber drive or have like a campus job, work in the library or something during the off season and make money off that, or accept donations or anything like that. It's just ridiculous. They're making these people billions of dollars. These coaches are getting paid millions of dollars. These schools are getting millions of dollars for TV deals, shows, programs, all kinds of things. God knows how much they're making off of ticket sales. And these people are coming to see the players, these colleges. Tell me if you would know. You wouldn't know a thing about University of Alabama, LSU, none of these schools. You wouldn't know a thing about them if it wasn't for their football teams.
Exactly, I agree. Bret, what are your thoughts? Are you agreeing or disagree?
I'm on board 100%, but I know you mentioned this in the chat earlier. There needs to be like some form of a salary cap, so there's everybody. Like I said in the chat as well, everybody going flooding Oregon because Nike's throwing out all these ridiculous endorsement deals because the founder of Nike went to Oregon and stuff like that. But I'm sure there'll be something that NCAA is going to talk about before they fully enforce all this. But whoever that senator was that said they need to take the scholarships now as income, commas like whatever it is, take income tax of all those. That might have been the worst idea I think I've ever heard because what's the difference now between I know. Like I said, we don't know how much the endorsement deals can be for these athletes yet, what the limit is, but you can't just – they still work for that scholarship. They're still the same thing as some of these academic scholarships where they get their books paid for, free tuition paid for, stuff like that. But at the same time, those non-student athletes can still have jobs and get paid, have a source of income, while the athletes are now just going to be able to finally get money off their own likeness and hopefully be able to get jobs and stuff like that now with all the new rules. So I did not agree with whatever, I forgot what senator it was. He's Phyllis Hayes of North Carolina. That was just awful out and that made zero sense whatsoever. It has nothing to do whatsoever with endorsement deals. It's a scholarship. It has to pay for. It's there to pay for school for families that can't afford to pay for school, and that's what some of the athletes come in a situation where the only way out is to go to college is earn a scholarship. So you're going to basically kind of tax them for a way right. You're going to be taxing them for that. So that's not going to happen. But that tweet kind of drove me off the edge a little bit.
Yeah, you're not taxing people on academic scholarships.
Exactly.
Well, the thing, getting to work with Max, and then Max Gene Gillis of the formerly of Georgia. That was one of the things I asked him. I was like, hey, what do you think about? Because we were looking one time online, and there was places selling his Georgia jersey with his name on the back. And I was like, hey, how much of this are you getting? He's like laughing. He's like, bro, I ain't getting none of that. But here's what he said. He said, what people don't realize is he's like, okay, so I got a full ride scholarship to University of Georgia. People say, man, that's, free schooling, free everything. He's like, hell no, man. He's like, what that gets me is my tuition paid for, some books. It doesn't cover all the books. And he says, and you get a living stipend. You don't get you choose to live off campus, you only get a little bit of a living stipend. It doesn't pay for you to live off campus. Pay for you to live in the dorm. But like he said there ain't nobody to live in the dorm. After your freshman, maybe sophomore year, you want to live off campus. And you live, you normally live with other teammates and stuff like that. But it's just a stipend. He's like, food, I'm on my own, and I can't get no money because when am I going to have time for a job? I got 2 practices. I got schoolwork. He's like, there's no time for me to get a job. And but like I said in chat, I went and I looked. I went to the Duke team store and I looked, and they were selling Zion Williamson jerseys for $98. $98. Zion Williamson jerseys.
Buying the hell out of them.
$98. So I pulled up my handy dandy little calculator. I'll pull it up again just to make sure my numbers are right. But say they sell 30 jerseys in a day. Bam, Duke, $2,880. If they sell 30 jerseys, man, how much you think Zion was getting of that in college? Well, I mean, not counting maybe what Coach K and Duke was paying him off the side, but still, I mean, he wouldn't get none of that. I mean, again, and somebody will say, well, but when he's in school, it doesn't have his name on it. Man, do you think when you go in the Duke team store and you see a rack of 100 number 1 jerseys that they ain't going in there thinking, hey, I just like the number 1? And it's really funny because, like, the first time I ever really noticed that was actually the number 1 Duke jersey, because Kyrie, everybody wanted everything Kyrie, and so Kyrie's the number 1 Duke jersey, so that was really when I started to pay attention. And I've been following the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit for many, 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 many years before it got resolved. And it really took Ed O'Bannon defeating the NCAA for this change to even be possible. And for all of y'all that are really excited, shout out to EA Sports NCAA football and basketball about to come back next year. So that's what this means, number 1. I mean, we're definitely going to start to see some EA Sports video games coming back with college football and basketball. So I'm excited for that. But, yeah, they definitely deserve to be paid. But Bret, you kind of already answered this question. It was kind of a follow-up question. But, Phil, do you think there needs to be a hard cap on how much these athletes can make before they aren't considered amateurs?
No, I don't think so. They're making money off of their name. They should be able to do what they want with their name. Yeah,
but see, I just disagree with you on this one. My number's high. I mean, still, I think the cap needs to be $100,000 a year. I just think there still has to be a line to how much you're making to stay amateur. And there has to be a number. I guarantee you NCAA ain't going to let it be 100,000. They're going to come up with the cap number. It's not going to be 100,000. It's going to be way less than that. Their first offer was like 10,000. I'm like, come on, man. But so there's definitely going to be a hard cap instituted by NCAA. It's not going to be. I would be surprised if it's 20,000, 25,000, because they're going to say, okay, we agree, you're not getting enough to live on. But so the average college living wage is, I think I looked it up, was like 25 to 35,000. For people with like a part-time to full-time college job. So, but there has to be some kind of regulations. You know how the NCAA works. They can't leave something unregulated because, then they wouldn't, they'd lose pieces of that $1 billion pie that they're not going to let go. So, but we all three of us know the NCAA is a complete fraud. So I always thought the NCAA was a fraud. Again, getting to work with Max and hearing the stories, now it just makes me shake my head on how big of a fraud the NCAA truly is. Doug says NCAA 20. Woo! He says he's tired of Madden and its game-breaking glitches. Dude, I agree. Madden is such a disaster. Madden used to be like the best game ever.
Like 4 years.
What's that?
I haven't had Madden in like 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's either NBA or nothing now. I'd rather play bass fishing on my Xbox than play Madden.
I'll tell you what's fun, FIFA.
Yeah, FIFA. I watch FIFA on Twitch TV sometimes, and that's as exciting as watching a live soccer game sometimes. So, except there's way more scoring. So, but yeah, that'll be an interesting thing to watch. Again, I think that there will be a cap, but we'll have to keep an eye on that situation. I'm sure it's something we'll be talking about again here in the near future. But let's go ahead and end it. We're going to bring back some buy or sell for the Halloween edition, Halloween on Thursday. So I thought I'd have a little fun with some Halloween buy and sell. Buy or sell, Bret, candy corn?
I'm buying candy corn. I actually went to the store yesterday. I think I went to Sam's to buy some. They didn't have any, so I was kind of surprised.
They didn't have candy corn?
They didn't have any candy corn. Maybe it didn't look hard enough, but I went to the candy section. There was no candy corn in, so I guess
You forgot to look in the trash. I'm assuming.
Somebody threw that shit out.
I mean,
Well, tell me you're selling, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's only one thing worse than candy corn. That's black licorice. So
that's bad.
yeah, black licorice is the all-time worst, but candy corn is a close second. I seen this video. I saw this video. I have to find it for you, Brett. It was on YouTube of this guy who was just making all these different things with candy corn. Like he had candy corn cereal with milk and stuff. And oh god, I was gonna hurl. It was so nasty. Like candy corn pie, where it's just made of nothing but the inside, the candy corn.
Okay, that was a little bad there.
I'm gonna pass. I hate candy corn. All right, Phil, buy or sell handing out full-size candy bars. Now you're soon to be a homeowner, so when you get your own home, are you giving out the full-size bars?
No, if somebody wants to waste their money, they go ahead. They can a little higher ready pack, and with the little itty bitty ones, and give them a little bit of that.
You buying or selling, Brett? Giving out the full-size candy bars.
I'm selling. That makes no sense. Sell it all day. No.
Yeah, I'm selling too, but because being the one that is the homeowner here, I just don't want the little midgets coming to my house. And when you get the full-size candy bars, you start to get a reputation as, hey, that's the house that gives out the full-size candy bars. So I don't need that kind of reputation around here. I want to be that's mean old Mr. Lancaster's house. We shouldn't go over there. So that's a reputation I'm going for. So my wife, she wanted to throw in this next question. So this is her buy or sell. Brett, buy or sell dressing up your pet for Halloween?
I'm buying it because my mom's dressing up our dog, so I guess I gotta buy it.
Phil, buy or sell dressing up that you're a pet owner now. Buy or sell dressing up that pet for Halloween?
Yeah, I'll have to sell it. He'd probably just try to
do that again, Phil. I need to see how your dog will act with the pet costume. I'm buying. We buy Maddie, our dog, a costume every year. This year's is epic. I can't spoil it because my dad's watching and he thinks that's the most annoying thing in the world. So we like to send him pictures. But this one might be the best one ever. So I actually picked this one out. So I'm buying. All right, we're gonna end with not a buy or sell, but just one question. Brett, what is the best costume you ever had for Halloween?
Oh, I don't know. I guess see here. I guess I like Batman. I went as a full Batman costume one time. That was pretty cool. I felt like so Batman probably.
How young were you?
I think I was 8.
8, huh?
Something like that. So I was a little Batman running around.
Phil, what is the best costume you ever had for Halloween?
I guess for some reason when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a towel one year. So I don't know, but I was a towel.
I want to be a towel for Halloween. Oh my god, that's the best ever. Now I want to see you dress up as a towel for Halloween. Were you like the shower towel or like the dish towel or? I mean, I guess that's a cheap costume. I mean, 99 cents at the dollar store can get you that. I mean, did you want like a towel mask too? Did you want to cut like a hole in the towel and make a little like?
No, just wanted to be a towel.
Well, I definitely can say that I was never a towel for Halloween. But my best costume ever was one year I went as Cartman. Yeah, Dougie says Towley from South Park. I like it. Now that's a costume. But I went as Cartman, and they had I was older. I probably I'm old now, but I bet it was 20 years ago or so. And they had a talent contest. So I sang in my Cartman voice a particular song about Kyle's mom being a specific type of female dog. and I ended up winning the talent contest. It was $250. So yeah, my Cartman voice is up there. I don't know how good it is anymore, but that was probably my favorite costume. I'm a pretty hefty dude, so it's easy to pull off the Cartman for me. So, yeah, I was kind of thinking that was going to be the best until Phil threw in towel. So you can't beat that. So, anyways, Phil, who you shouting out?
Shout out to everybody listening, everybody supporting, especially Dougie Fresh 123 on YouTube. You've been in the chat. Probably 33 for 33 on these episodes.
I was worried because I didn't see him at the beginning. I was like, oh no, the streak is about to be broken. But definitely shout out to Dougie, man. My thoughts and prayers are out to you. I know you're going through some family tribulation, trials and tribulations this week. So thoughts and prayers are with you, by the way, brother. So, but thanks for coming in. So, Bret, who you shouting out?
Definitely the listeners, and I guess since I wasn't here last week, I got shout out to Coach Collins getting that first ACC win. So I guess I'll move on 2 shout outs for tonight.
Definitely want to shout out the guys that were in here. Shout out my pop. He was excited that we're back because it gives him something to do. But then he told me he was at the casino and he'd rather play slot machines than listen to me. That's what old people do. They sit at slot machines and not watch their sons do this thing. But it's good. Shout out again to StreamYard. This is literally like the smoothest, other than Phil's connection issues, the smoothest podcasting software. So if you're looking for something as a podcast step for, definitely check them out. So, but then, like I said, shout out to Dougie for being in here and supporting us week after week. We definitely appreciate it. But
shout out Derek because he's going to have that link up fast, right?
But thanks for listening to the ATL Sports HQ live podcast. Hey, we will see you guys next week.